Okay, you know what? I hate when that happens. I just had to reshoot this video, but pulled the triple trees off there to polish them, give them a good polish, and check out the steering head bearings while I'm in here. Pretty much service the neck bearings and polish these up while we got it out. So process is, you really don't need a lift to do this. It helps, but somehow you need to hold the bike. I happen to use a lift with a jack under in front of it. So you're going to take the front wheel out, of course. Loosen the axle, loosen the pinch bolt on the lower triple tree, and slide the axle out with the bike jacked up. Now, before you take this off, if you're servicing the forks while it's up in there, before you take the pinch bolts loose, break the caps loose. They're 1 3/8. So you're going to break those loose while it's up in there. It's just easier to do it that way. We're going to polish up these lower legs too. They're not. This one's not horrible. The other one looks horrible. And this was semi-decent, but still needs a good polish. And since we're polishing triple trees, we might as well do the forks really good too. So you're going to take the axle out, take the pinch bolts loose, slide the axle tubes out, or slide the fork tubes out. Loosen up the pinch bolt on this triple clamp right there on this side. Break the nut loose, or bolt loose that goes through the top into the pivot over here. Just kind of sits on there like that, and it's bolted together. Going to take those out. And then very important, you want to check the steering head bearings. This one actually happens to need steering head bearings. Take them out, clean it up really good. If you look on the back section right there, you see those vertical lines in there. You'll want to get new bearings and cups to put in there. It's best to do both bearings. What happens with this when they get notchy like this, it's not going to cure itself. So what happens is you'll be going down the road and the bike, you'll feel it like it wants to drift one way or the other. And you have to actually turn the handlebars to get it to correct. And then it goes too far the other way. So you go back the other way. It doesn't want to hold a straight line basically, because it's just like the little notch in the bearing acts like a detent. So you end up doing this going down the road. So, pull them out of there every couple of years. I've never had these out of here, and it absolutely needs bearings and cups. So, general rule of thumb, if you can feel it with your fingernail, it needs bearings. And that usually comes from, lack of maintenance, like front end's never been adjusted. As far as the preload on the bearings has never been adjusted. Or, not so important on this thing, but somebody doing wheelies a lot. So that's more of a sport bike thing. Somebody that doesn't do really controlled wheelies, they do wheelies and then they just slam the damn front end down. That hammers the shit out of the bearings. Well, bikes that do it really bad are like Springer Softails. Springer just hammers the shit out of the bearings. I mean, absolutely hammers the hell out of them. Everything else, baggers and everything else, it's hardly any problem at all. You keep them adjusted, pull them out every 2 or 3 years and grease them, and you're good to go. So, depending on how you care for your bike, this is your seal, which is just a steel seal that basically sits on top of the bearing like that, so you don't actually have a real seal in there. And these things will get contaminated with water or whatever. The grease breaks down, that kind of thing. So check your steering head bearings out. When I go back together with it, I'll show you how to adjust them. It's a very, very simple process. Basically, you jack the front end up just off the ground so the wheel can move. And you tie a string to the back of the fender with a plumb bob. Then you're going to move the front end one way and measure how it falls with the front wheel on there when it starts to fall away by itself. You're going to mark that on a piece of tape on the ground. That's one line. Then you're going to move it back the other way until it starts to fall away the other way. And that point where it starts to fall away, you're going to mark that. Then you're going to measure that distance between those two. Should be like 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches of fall away. It's about perfect. You put them too tight, and it's just like having a bad bearing. Bike's going to want to go this way or that way. You want it so it's not flopping back and forth, and you can feel it when you pull the front end. If you hear any knocking in there when you move the front end, pull the fork legs back and forth, it's too loose. So it's kind of a fine line between too loose and too tight. But that's how you adjust them. And like I said, I'll do a video on that when we go back together with it. Right now, we're just polishing the fork tubes and the triple trees. And doing the bearings too. So I'm going to clean these things up and we'll get started on it. But anyway, have a good weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Everybody take care. We'll continue on.